Hi, and welcome to one of our two Q&A sessions with the directors of films at Shortcuts Program 2 here at TIFF. My name is Jason Anderson, and I'm the programmer for Shortcuts, and I'm thrilled to be joined by four of the filmmakers we have in the program. First of all, I'd like each of them to introduce themselves and say which films they're here with, and I'll start with Fawzia.
Hi, my name is Fawzia Mirza, and I'm the director of the SYED Family Xmas Eve Game Night.
Great, thank you. And Terril.
Hi, my name is Terril Calder. I'm Métis from Fort Francis, Ontario. My film is called Beneath the Hidden Island of Ethics.
Great, thank you. Samir.
Hi, my name is Samir Karahoda. I'm coming from Kosovo and representing short film Displaced.
Great, thank you. And also Jerry.
Yes, my name is Jerry Carlsson. I'm from Sweden, and I'm the screenwriter and director of Successful Thawing of Mr. MORO.
Great. Thanks so much to all of you for being here. Wish you could be here in Toronto in the real life version, but we're thrilled you could still join us virtually and talk about your films, which we're so happy to be able to present in the program this year. They're all so different and yet so strong and so distinctive, and I think all very personal in different ways. And I think that there's lots that about each film that we connect with here, and very excited to share them. But I'd love to, first of all, just to hear from each of the filmmakers, just about kind of how these films began for you, kind of what inspired you, and really what kind of most compelled you to share these stories in the ways that you did. And I'll start with Fawzia.
So I directed the short film, but I did not write it. The writer came to me, Kausar Mohammed. She's both the writer, producer, and star of the film, an incredible talent. And we worked together on another short film of mine. And I was really struck by just her drive and passion and energy and talent. And she's also queer, Muslim, Pakistani. And she was inspired to write the short film based off of her own family experiences and her relationship with her partner, who is also a producer on the film, Amalia Mesa Gustin. And, my personal mission as an artist has been to center stories of queer Muslims, of people of color, of folks at the margins, and not just to be best friends, but to be at the center of our own stories created by us and seeing us and really seeing our intersections. So when she approached me about directing it, I was just like, yes, when can we start? And we started during pandemic, and I got to help develop the short with her. And it's been something that we've worked on together, which I think is a really important part of this short and its journey, is the collaborative nature of the project from start to finish.
It really it takes a village, I'm sure, and it's every film. And I wish we could talk to so many members of your teams too, just because there's so many people involved with the making of these amazing films. And the same with Terril. I mean, this is a project that is incredible, and I'm sure many hands, but certainly a lot of time of your own on the film. But yeah, I'd love to hear about sort of starting points for MENEATH.
MENEATH is a very large film. It covers a lot of area, but its origin, I think, came from the word itself. MENEATH means island in Anishinaabe-Moan, but I don't spell it like the word. I spell it like beneath. And I think the impetus for this film was something that I've encountered a lot in my life, is how I navigate the world is sometimes differently than other people. And I was trying to figure out why that is. And often while I'm making my mind about ethical decisions, or even how any kind of decision, people misinterpret that as I don't know better. And I think I wanted to make a film that explains or gives the audience like a lens into my thinking process. And a lot of Indigenous people is that I know differently. And this is a news to a lot of people, that the base set of ethics in Canada aren't the only ethics here. That there are values that exist beyond colonialism. So I tried to make a 20-minute animation about that, and I do a lot of it myself. And so that was my film, and it evolved. but I keep just trying to go back to this is what it's about. This is what it's about.
I'm sure. I mean, just because the amount of work that goes into the piece is just enormous. So I mean, amazing to sort of keep that focus, because I'm sure you can feel pretty deep in it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm really so thrilled to have the film here. So thank you.
Thank you.
And to Samir for Displaced Pavement, which is again like a very rich film, and I think just there's obviously a lot of care and love that goes into a film like this too. But I'd love to hear about how this piece began for you.
Yeah, actually, this film based on a true story. It's directed and shot by me personally. It's about the most successful ping pong team in our country, which still doesn't possess their own facilities for training. So this story begins in around 2004 or 5, just after the war in Kosovo, where everyone was focused on different things, but no one was caring about youth for sports and stuff like this. So actually this story, the 15 minutes, it's compressed of 15 years, all this, which still, this team still doesn't possess their own facilities. So when we see the best players in our country who represent our national team are also from this team. So all what I wanted is to be their voice in order to start and change things about this team and also the other teams, because this is not only in a table tennis sport. There are a lot of issues in different sports. For example, my son is playing tennis, but during the winter, because there is no closed spaces, so they play in a basketball hall. So also my son's issue was kind of pressure that I have to do at least something for these young kids in order to start and change things. So I just want to touch that already we achieved our aim. The mayor of the city already allocated the space and the budget to start to build this space, and it's all about from our movie, because after the screening in Cannes, this film did a huge impact in our small country, and he decided to start and work on this thing. So I'm happy that film can change things. So this is the best proof.
Oh my God, that's amazing! I hadn't heard that the film actually had that real world impact. For all these people who need that space.
Yeah, in Cannes was for the first time. Our presence in Cannes was for the first time for our country, so it was a big news everywhere, and everyone was curious to watch the film. So when we screened it after the Cannes in our town, so yeah, everyone was happy. In meantime, they felt like bad about seeing how our youth is struggling, because even we screened the film in our city, no one knows about this problem of this team. I mean, so they already now are introduced with the problems.
That's great. So thanks so much for sharing the film with us too, and to Jerry, which is I think another really special film to us, and really happy to have you here and back too as a director, because you've been here previously as a producer, but we're thrilled to have the film, and if you'd like to talk about kind of where this began. This is I think your first, maybe not quite your first science fiction piece, but certainly another different kind of film for you.
Yeah, no, but this film actually started with the Swedish Film Institute and the Swedish public broadcaster looking for sci-fi short films for a program. They were going to select 6 shorts that takes place year 2121. So a vision of Sweden in 100 years and what we will do and live like and stuff like that. And me and my producer are super interested by sci-fi, and especially existential sci-fi. So for us, the starting point was not necessarily the technological advances that are made, but the emotional response in humans because of these technological advancements. So we decided on doing something about cryogenics, and the situation of a man who gets a phone call about his ex-partner, his ex-husband, who died 43 years ago and has been frozen since then, that he can be thawed and brought back to life. And what does these news, what's the emotional response to that? I was very confused when I asked myself that question. What would I feel? Because 43 years, a lot happens in 43 years, and how much does this man really remember of their relationship? And if you've been waiting for 43 years and everything all of a sudden goes very fast, what's your emotional response to that?
It is a fascinating question, and it plays out in such an amazing way in the film. So thanks very much.
Thanks.
And yeah, and I'd just love to, again, sort of go back to the filmmakers and just hear, every film has this kind of incredible backstory and creative process. And I'd love to hear more about that. Maybe starting with Fawzia, because I think this is such a big-hearted, energetic film, and I'd love to hear about obviously a lot of the cast were very deeply involved with the creative, development of the film and the writing of the film, and kind of how this group of people came together and how you really fostered the energy that you have in the film.
Well, I really believe that, this film is an example of how subversive love can be, showing the possibility of queer Muslim people loving each other, of being happy, really focusing on the joy versus the trauma and the violence perpetrated against us as people. And I think that's really something that drives me as a human and how I've survived, despite all the folks who think that it's not possible to be gay and Muslim at the same time. And honestly, this team has been incredible. I think, one of the things that I think is reflected on screen is the great collaboration off screen. We were, Kosser and Amalia, the producers, and Kosser, the writer and star as well, and myself, and then also my wife, Andrea Mirza. There was conversation and also aspiration to make this film differently than the way we were told we're supposed to make film. And I think it's aspirational both in terms of what we want to see for our lives, but also in how we want to work in this industry. And that was in every stage of the process, from development to editing, even to now when we're going to be sharing the film with audiences. And, Kosser isn't just so great with comedy and being so present as an actor, and the rest of the cast we filed in around her. Vico Ortiz, who plays her love interest in the film, I'd cast Kosser and them in a table reading in the past, and they had such great chemistry. So Kosser was like, "Do you think Vico would do this?" And I was like, "Yes, Vico would definitely do this." And then, the brother role is played by Dilo, an amazing trans South Asian actor and comedian that we know, that we just want to work with and populate our lives and world with. And the other two amazing, funny sister actors, Mira and Pia Shad, that just nailed it, and folks in our community that we wanted to work with. So the energy that people brought really kind of created the family that you see on screen, but I think is really reflective of the family off screen as well, which is a dream.
It's wonderful. It really is just such a big-hearted, and unruly, and it's just there's so much to love and about love in the film. And it's interesting because I was thinking about, funny when I talk to the filmmakers together, I start to see connections. We see some connections between the films we put together and programs, but not a lot of it just sort of emerges kind of subconsciously. And I was just thinking about just that kind of thin line between, kind of a real life and kind of created life in the film, and how that relates to Pavend and Samir, and just thinking about if Samir wants to talk about that kind of very fascinating sort of thin line between a kind of documentary approach and a narrative approach in the film, and kind of how he, and also sort of finding the film. Because obviously these are people that you're presenting in the film who are playing versions of themselves quite closely, it seems.
Yeah, actually, I was trying to find actors for this movie, but then I thought that I need actors who know to play. Also, table tennis was a bit hard. So then I tried to convince these two guys to play themselves, because at the end it's their story. So finally I convinced them, and I'm very happy that I did with them, because they were so good. And I must say that we even didn't do at least any rehearsal before the shooting. So they just kept it as a personal thing. I even didn't tell them, for example, the scene at the end of the movie when they are at the tractor, I even didn't tell them watch on this side or watch on this side. I just told them we are going to go around the town several times, so do whatever you want. And they just kept their position, and I didn't do nothing else. And yeah, and somehow at the middle of the shooting, they start to feel like a part of the movie, because they were telling their true story. Because in the film and in the real life, actually, they are like failed talents. Because their dream was always to go somewhere to play international games and stuff like this, but never happened. Because just for an information for the Canadian audience, the Table Tennis Federation was the first federation who was recognized internationally after the war, after our independence, because everything started from the beginning, and the table tennis was the first one to be open internationally. So this case made them more enthusiastic to start, train more, and go and play international games, but that never happens, especially for these two guys. Yeah.
That's great, thanks. And I've been talking about your film to many people, and I always sort of feel like it's a table tennis movie, but it's so much more than a table tennis movie. As if people know what a table tennis movie is in the first place, but still, I mean, it's just really is such a.
It was a good thing, because also the Table Tennis International Federation published a news on their webpage that for the first time in the history of federation, table tennis will be spotlighted in Cannes.
As well,
yes.
It should be.
So, yeah,
that's great. So thanks again.
Yeah.
And just thinking about process and with Terril and Jerry's films, which are, I mean, just so intricate and distinctive and powerful, and starting with Terril about this, I'm sure what must have seemed a very daunting task at many times, but just, I mean, you're working in an animation styles that I'm sure are close to things you've done before, but also a lot new. I mean, what was this, to talk a bit about the creative development of the film and really, those key decisions about how you were going to make this, 20-minute piece that does so much and has so much in it.
It was really, really dense. There was a couple of things which the producers thought I was crazy. My background is in fine arts. So I kind of need to be a part of all of the process. And that working with this film with the NFB has, I feel like I have my pants down the whole time, because they, but it made the film a lot stronger. So I always write a film that I can pretty much pull off myself. And I was sitting watching another film at a theater, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a stage on a stage? Like, actually, my background is in performance art. Can I make a film that encompasses kind of my background and my history, but still have a narrative that pulls you through with all of these moving pieces and parts? And so I told my producer, okay, we're going to do 7 sacred teachings and the 7 deadly sins, and it's all going to be on a stage. She thought, oh, this is going to be, it's like, she goes, it's so boring. It sounds boring too. And I said, no, but the stage is going to be this magical place. And I'm going to find shots that it's going to look like different places. And I'd hoped that was going to be the case at the time. But so there was a real evolution of trying to make this kind of nightmare dream space become much more than just one note, to actually have different seasons and evolutions and things to sort of evolve as you're brought through the narrative. So it was an absolute joy putting the piece together, but a lot of it really depended on on the animation or the character, the main character being engaging enough to pull you through, to actually that you're invested in her journey and where she'll end at the end. So there's many things that would have went wrong, that could have went wrong. And now on my final day of mixing, I'm really proud of the film that we put together, because it's, like I said, there were so many things that shouldn't work. And I think we've made an experience and a film. And to me, that's, I feel very, very proud.
Oh, it's great to hear. I was thinking the same thing. I think the film is so immersive. Like it is kind of its own universe in so many ways, and it's so powerful. So congrats, and you're almost there.
Thank you. Tomorrow, we'll be done tomorrow.
And I'm really excited that people will be able to see it, and hopefully already seen it if they're watching this session. And same to Jerry, because I think this is like something I love about science fiction, and I'm sure that you love about science fiction, is when you have this sort of thing that's fantastical but feels so authentic and feels so grounded, both in emotional terms of it, because it's a very poignant film, but also just because it's, the tech, everything about the tech it feels like a very lived-in reality, which I just love to hear about, kind of developing that, and because it's, I'm sure not easy. Like none of this is easy.
No, exactly. I worked very close with the production designer and the DOP on setting the tone and finding what we believe the future will look like, and really strive for an authenticity, and not to make a show off sci-fi, but more base it in what do we actually believe the future will look like. And the vision of the future today is that the future will be very clean and sterile and technological. I don't believe that. I think it's a more organic, that we realize the value of organic shapes and materials. So we went back to history and studied what different decades believed about the future, how the future would look like. And I really love the 50s and 60s kind of retro futurism. I think they pretty much nailed a lot of it. I wish my home today looked like they thought it would. So a lot of focus on what the future will look like, and in a future where climate change changes the way we live, and if there would be a constant winter, how would we react to that? So we built this home where there's this winter outside, but inside of this house you build your own summer, kind of. You have your own seasons inside, which I find fully believable if the worst case scenario happens with the climate. So a lot about finding the tones together with my production designer and DOP, and bringing in nature. And we also looked a long time to find a home that felt retro-futuristic, like almost a James Bond villain house from the 50s, 60s. And in Sweden, we don't have that kind of architecture, first of all. But we found this beautiful home of an architect called Ralph Erskine. He passed away, but it was his home that he drew and lived in. And he was inspired by igloos. And the whole house is kind of like a huge container, like a vaulted container. So it kind of mirrors this container in the basement where he stores the frozen body, but he's stored inside this container home that kind of keeps the heat in, and then you have the winter outside. So it's a container in a container in a container, kind of. Yeah, and I mean it was a challenge to shoot at that location because it is an architectural gem in Sweden. So there was like no tape on the wall or something. That was like the so it made it a bit difficult to shoot, especially during pandemic, when you also you have other restrictions as well.
Yeah, and everything, there's such a warmth in that space. Just that sort of the warmth, emotional warmth in the film too. And and again, I think it's something I associate with all 4 of these films. It's just that there is such deep, rich emotional complexity and deep feeling to them. So I'm just so again just so happy to be able to share them with audiences for Shortcuts this year. And sadly, we're out of time. We'd love to hear more, and because there's just all the films contain multitudes. But I thank you all for joining us today, and thank viewers for being here too. So thanks again.
Yeah.
Thank you.